Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the FEU Career and Placement Office Pre-Employment Preparation or PEP Talk webinar series for the second semester of 2020-2021. This is Ron Gascon, the coordinator of the FEU Career and Placement Office or CAPO, and I'm your MC this afternoon. PEP Talk is a regular virtual series designed to prepare the graduating students for employment by equipping them with the necessary knowledge through talks touching on various topics delivered by industry professionals and experts. And on your screens now, you can see our previous PEP Talk webinars done last semester. You may rewatch them at your most convenient time at the Career and Placement Office official page and at the FEU YouTube channel. The live Q&A tab if you are using a mobile phone or other portable device. For our viewers watching through the FEU Facebook live streaming, you may post your questions on the comment section as well. We really anticipate your questions and participation as we progress in our webinar. The incapacitating effects of the pandemic made us realize how job hunting has become more competitive in this time of economic and health crisis. In a crowd of hopeful career seekers, how can our resume become a tool that will make us a standout? How does writing a winning resume bring us closer to a successful job interview? How does an effective resume complement the skills necessary to ace the job interview and land that dream job? What does it take to prepare for that one important interview that will eventually determine your career path? The FEU Career and Placement Office presents its fourth Pre-Employment Preparation Talk or PEP Talk for year 2021 with the topics Stand Out from the Crowd, Writing a Winning Resume, and Express to Impress, How to Ace a Job Interview. This webinar episode is brought to you by the Career and Placement Office in cooperation with our digital media partner, Shanghai Syndicate, the FEU Marketing Communication Office, and the Education Technology Office. Stay tuned as we discover more about how we can develop our skills in resume writing and job interview to advance our careers. Just a reminder, make sure that your microphones are on mute to avoid causing any unnecessary noise. Thank you for your cooperation and enjoy the rest of the program. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the opening remarks and introduction of our guest speakers, may I call on the Director of the Career and Placement Office, Ms. Maria Carmencita Babes Suva Alfonso. Hi, Ma'am Babes, the screen's yours.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you very much, Sir Ron. Our distinguished speakers, our Senior Vice President, Maria Teresa Trinidad Tino, Assistant Vice President for Academic Services, Dr. Generoso Pamitan, our deans, faculty members who are watching right now, our students, co-employees. Good afternoon, and thank you for taking a time out of your busy schedule to join us today. In the past 2 semesters, we learned how to cope with this new normal. We learn how to navigate and adjust on how things will be, even after the pandemic. We don't wait for things to happen, but we make things happen. The FEU Career and Placement Office, or CAPO, has successfully run a series of webinars last semester, a total of 15, I may say, to give our students the basics of working and finding a job amidst the new normal. We have also successfully rolled out all other online activities designed to help prepare our internship and graduating students for the new world of work. Online mock interview with coaching, online exclusive recruitment, online recruitment exclusive for Tamaraos or ORETAMs, and the first ever FEU virtual job fair, and then the student exposure to partner organizations or Expo, to name a few. As we provide a holistic approach in our students' career development, we continue to offer meaningful activities and programs to help prepare and guide them in their life design. whether they want to have a successful career, build their own empire, or a freelance professional. And with the advent of pandemic, our PEP Talk has covered numerous subject matters, not only on pre-employment preparation, but other important topics that would equip our students with the essential know-how on entrepreneurship, personal development, as well as continuing education such as finding scholarships abroad. Let me show you a short video clip of Kapos activities last semester, just to give you a sneak preview. Video, please. We shall be posting this in the official FEU social media sites and Canvas. For today's episode titled Stand Out from the Crowd, Writing a Winning Resume, and Express to Impress How to Ace a Job Interview, we are very grateful to be joined by our industry partner, a company regarded as one of the oldest financial institutions in the United States and is defined by its diversity and inclusivity. Their business principles are fundamental to their success, and they are proud of their long tradition of integrity, honesty, and respect. We are indeed lucky to have them today, as they will give us valuable insights in equipping our students about the nature and importance of writing a winning resume and acing a job interview. In this new normal, this topic is very relevant as we continue to adjust and thrive in the new normal way of doing things, not only in school but in the world of work as well. On that note, I would like to end with my usual reminder. While it is not going to be easy to sort out the challenges in this new situation that we are in, always remember the mantra, be brave, because Tamaraos have always been resilient to whatever comes our way. Always remember that. And now, without further ado, allow me to introduce our speakers. Our first speaker has over 14 years of work experience with expertise managing external recruiting partners focused on volume hiring and executive and corporate searches. Prior to his current role, he has also gained valuable experience in campus recruitment, operations, talent development of new employees under learning delivery. He is currently an associate with sourcing operations under talent acquisition in JP Morgan Chase, specifically in the Philippine corporate centers. Our first speaker for the topic Stand Out from the Crowd, Writing a Winning Resume, is Mr. Sean Nilsson. Our second speaker, on the other hand, has a career which spans over 17 years with expertise in volume hiring, executive and corporate searches, and now 6 years in campus recruitment. Her in-depth recruitment experience was significantly developed in the business process outsourcing and 10 years in JP Morgan Chase. Part of her role is to manage the internship programs of the Corporate Analyst Development Program and the Human Resources Analyst Development Program to find the junior leader talent to develop for our operations, for their operations and HR functions in the Philippines. She is currently a campus recruiter for JP Morgan Chase, specifically in the Philippines corporate centers. Ladies and gentlemen, our second speaker for the topic, Express to Impress How to Ace a Job Interview, Ms. Gaida Leida. Now, ladies and gentlemen, again on your screen, let me call on our first speaker, Mr. Sean Nilsson. Sir Sean, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, babes, and thank you so much for warming up the floor for me. I believe that is one of the best introductions that I've ever had anywhere, and you made me feel like a very important person. Hopefully I can live up to that introduction. So as Babes mentioned, yes, Gay and myself, we are with JP Morgan Chase, or we could call it from here on out JPMC to make it a little easier on our tongues maybe. And primarily we are here to, of course, go over resume writing, not only that, how to ace an interview. But before we get there, of course, I hope. Can everyone hear me? I was muted for a moment there. Okay. Now, I hope everyone can see the screen in front of you because currently I'm looking at Babes. Okay, there we go. Here's the screen. So it's this is a tagline that you will see often, especially when you, of course, attend our workshops. Not only that, our company talks. Find the career that fits you. And we'll plug it in that we will have a lot more upcoming events, and CAPO or CAPO will be there to update you on upcoming events whenever or before they take place. It seems as though we're having some technical difficulties because the screen share, it's going back to Babes again. I think it might be with my colleague, Gay Lida. So let me go ahead and share my screen instead, so we don't have too many technical difficulties. I hope that's okay. Just give me a moment. Okay, as far as my screen, can everyone see that? It's now the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Babes. Okay, so moving on to the bulk of the activity today, which will be resume writing, or how to write an effective resume, coupled with how to ace an interview. For this portion, we'll take a look at writing an effective resume. But before we get there, I'd like to go over the recruiting process and how it looks like from the student's perspective. So before we get to resume writing, of course, we will have several campus events, and that's with partnership with CAPO. And not only that, we will also have networking events as well. So this is part of the recruiting process that's initiated by us, JPMC, along with CAPO as partnership. And hopefully you get to attend those events in the future to learn more about us, what it is that we do, and what we value, and what our core values are as well. Now, as far as our on-campus engagement and networking events, as I mentioned, we will have several coming up. I think we even have one coming up this weekend, and that will be advertised by CAPO as well. Now, talking about resume writing and how to really prepare yourself when it comes to the resume. For now, I would like to steer away from the PowerPoint presentation and take a look at what we know exactly about JPMC and everyone's insight regarding that as well. So I'll stop sharing my screen for the moment, and I'll pull up Mentimeter. Just give me a moment to do so. Okay, so I believe everyone should be looking at the screen with a question. What do you know about JPMC? Is that correct? Maybe Babes, if you could give me a thumbs up, because I predominantly always see you as the only person. So I'm relying on you to give me those thumbs up, okay? So for those that are not familiar with Mentimeter, if you could go to your device, be it a cell phone, laptop, what have you, and go to menti.com, that's MENTI.com. And once you're there, if you could please put in the code 9612043. And once you key that in, if you could perhaps share your insight, what it is exactly that you know about JPMC as a company, what you've heard about, or if you don't know anything, that's fine. You can always put that in as well. And we'll give it about a minute or two for everyone to key in their insight. We have one coming up, bank. Definitely, that's what we are. We're actually considered a mega bank. And we'll give others time to plug in their answers as well. Okay, so far we have two answers. One is bank and one is a reputable firm. Okay, and we have some others coming in, financial service. Let's give it some more time for others to plug in their insight. Okay, and they're coming in by the truckload now. Okay, let's give it some more time. Okay, so we have around 13 responses, and it is prevailing that a lot of the responses are coming in that it is a bank, an investment bank, investment firm, accounting firm, financial service, financial institution, investment company. Some would even call it a BPO, since of course it's a US-based company, although of course we have sites located internationally. And I like the very honest answer here, not much, okay? Very honest answer, and it's okay, of course. And we have a lot of answers coming in, and it's all really revolving around investment company and bank. And basically, that's what we are, right? And it's good that we have a good insight of who JPMC is and what it is that we really do. Thank you so much for everyone sharing your insight about what you know about the company. Let's go back to the presentation and see how exactly this ties into writing a resume as well. Let me just go ahead and stop sharing for a moment. Perhaps if Gay's already back online, if you could share your screen, or if there we go. All right, thanks, Gay. Okay, so as far as the questions earlier that we asked about the company and how it really relates to writing a resume. So it's always good to know how the industry is, and when you take a look at how the industry is, this could be several mediums that you could use to gauge how exactly the industry is. News would be, of course, one of the top prevailing medium or platforms that we could use to see exactly how an industry is doing. And aside from that, we have social media as well. Just make sure that it's from reputable accounts that are publishing these updates as far as the industry is concerned. Next, we have from the company itself, of course. And as far as what we can gauge from the company, you can take a look at the company website. Not only that, you can take a look at campus presentations such as this, or maybe company talks. We could also attend company-hosted networking events, annual reports, and the likes. Not only that, it's always good to do a bit of research about the role that you're applying for. When we say the role, take a look at the job description, what are the qualifications that it entails. And next would be the interview format. When we say interview format, it usually comprises of several interviews that you would need to go through, from HR interview to the hiring manager, or maybe even a panel interview. So it's always a good idea as well to know who is going to be interviewing you. Do a bit of research about the person's role, and you can incorporate that in the interview. So let them know that you did your part to do your due diligence in researching not only about the company, also about the person that's going to interview you. Okay? And how to know. How to know this information. Aside from the ones that I mentioned earlier, you can keep updated on business news, as I mentioned. Not only that, attend presentations and meet with recruiting teams, such as myself or Gaylida. And take advantage of workshops such as these and company talks as well. Also, utilize Career Center resume and interview skills workshops, such as this one. And talk to other students who have interned or maybe went through the analyst development program, or you feel will have good knowledge about the company as well. Next, become more engaged in certain clubs or areas of interest, wherein they could share a lot about the company, and not only that, maybe current openings within the company as well. Just a temp check. Are we still seeing the screen share of the presentation? No? Let me go ahead and screen share it instead. Give me a moment. How about now? Can we see the screen? Okay, I take that as a yes. So moving on to doing the diligence research about the company, about the roles, about the interviewers. Next up, we will move on to resume writing. All right. Now, we'll take a look at the differences between the two, curriculum vitae, and we have resume. So a CV is actually, it's very long and it highlights a person's, basically their career journey. And since we are initially starting out on a career journey, it would be best to leave out a CV and just attach a resume to the application. Because it is a very long letter. It could take around 1 or 2 pages. And it covers basically the entire career of an individual. And not only that, it's static in nature. Static in nature, meaning to say that it's not really fine-tuned to a specific role that you might be applying for, as opposed to a resume. Now, a resume is very short, maybe a page or 2 at the most, and there's really no format rule. And we'll go over the different formats that we could use to have a good, seamless resume that's very eye-catching as well later on. And it's customizable. When we say customizable, we can customize it basically for each and every single application that we submit. Right? Now, moving on to a bit of research that was done by a lattice research by businessinsider.com. And this is basically a heat map. It lets you know that there are 80% of recruiters that spend most of their time taking a look at the name, taking a look at the title of the company, the position, and the start date and the end dates of that position, and some extracurricular activities. Now, keep in mind that 80% is actually slimmed down to 6 seconds per recruiter, per resume that they look at. So not a lot of time for them to briefly glance the resume. Now, this research was very extensive. We took a look at, or they took a look at rather, 30 recruiters, and they did a heat map of what it is exactly that they look at the resume, and they did this for a 10-week duration. So that's a bit tip of what it is exactly that recruiters look at and how much time they really spend looking at that information as well. I'd like to get your thoughts. Let me stop sharing now and go back to Mentimeter. I'd like to get your thoughts on what tips we may have gathered when it comes to resume writing. Let me pull up Mentimeter for just a moment. Okay, there we go. I believe everyone should be looking at the question. What tips do you know about resume writing. So similar as to before, if everyone could go to your device, if you're not already on it, if you could key in menti.com, and then the code will be 9612043. I'd like to get everyone's insight on what tips they were provided when it comes to resume writing. So we shared a bit of a tip before that recruiters actually spend 80% of their time, which is around 6 seconds per recruiter per resume, taking a look at different information. So I'd like to get your insight on some tips that you were provided when it comes to resume writing. And I'll give you some time for everyone to key in their answers. Okay, so we have two so far. We have the shorter, the better. I agree with this, okay? And it has to be organized and easy to read. Absolutely. Keep it short. Okay? Going back to Tyson with the first one. Do not include unnecessary details. So it goes back to keeping it short. Okay? Keep it short as well, straight and concise. Make it concise. Short tips. All right. So it seems like there is a common theme when it comes to tips that we've all received. And it basically revolves around keeping it short, keeping it concise, and leave out unnecessary details as well. Let's take a look at the others coming in. Okay, use appropriate font. Okay, could not agree more as well. Okay, keep it concise, be consistent and true on what you write on the resume. Absolutely. This would be very beneficial to always keep it honest, especially because a lot of companies do a lot of background checking as well when it comes to the information within the resume. Be specific. So again, it really revolves around keeping it short, keeping it concise. Not only that, keeping the information on the resume factual. Okay, thank you everyone so much for sharing your insights. We also have one, correct grammar. Okay, yes. Always best to use the spell check and keep that handy. That's a very good feature that we could always utilize. Okay, again, thank you so much everyone for sharing your insights. Let me go back to the presentation. Okay, I'd like to call on Gay again. Maybe Gay, if you're there, if you could share your screen. If not, I'll go ahead. And Babe says no. Okay. All right, Babes, thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen instead. Thanks, Babes. It's no longer the thumbs up. It is now a wave that she's giving me. Okay, Babes, if you could perhaps help me out. Am I sharing your screen? Not yet? Okay. How about now? Looks good? Okay, thank you. Okay, so going back to what everyone was mentioning earlier as far as tips or resumes do's and don'ts, basically. So everyone really provided great tips, and it really goes in line with the tips that we will provide as well. So first one is to really keep it crisp. Keep your resume concise, keep it short, keep it to one page if you can. Avoid really fancy templates. Make it simple, very simple. Make sure to declutter your resume as well. Only prioritize those points that you would like to get across. Remember, when it comes to the recruiters and what they look at, they take a look at previous positions, the start date, the end dates, extracurricular activities, things of that nature. And you can always talk about the details once you're in the interview. So you could provide concise information in the resume, but then once you're in that interview, that's where you can divulge a lot of information that you would have wanted to in the resume if given the chance. And keep it specific, be specific, customize your skills to a particular job. So when applying for a particular job, take a look at the qualifications that role would entail and try to align those qualifications with what you have and how you put it in the resume. And make sure that we list our accomplishments that make it relevant to the qualifications that they're looking for as well with a certain role. And remember, grammar is essential. Always use the spell check. Always use the spell check when it comes to wrapping up the resume before really attaching the resume and sending the application out. Okay? Next, contact information. So when we take a look at contact information, we have two information on the left and on the right. It's very important, of course, that we provide, of course, our name, address, and education, which actually both has. But if you take a look at the comparison between the left and the right, one really stands out the most. If you could maybe give that a glance, maybe 6 seconds, typically like what would recruiters spend. And if you're able to identify that the one on the right could be revised because of the email address, sexyguy@gmail.com. Okay, now you might be thinking, what if I'm really sexy and I want to divulge that information? Well, if you're really sexy, I don't think you really need to advertise it, right? Especially with the email address. Now, if we have an email address that we created a long time ago and we really want to keep that email address, please, you can hold on to the email address, but perhaps create one that's more professional, especially when sending out resumes. So also some tips to consider. Put your name in bold so that way it really stands out. Include, of course, your contact information because recruiters need to be able to get a hold of you, obviously, right? Be it your address, cell phone number, and email address, your personal email, and make sure that it's a professional email address. And check the information thoroughly. Make sure that it is accurate, especially with the email address and the phone number and the address as well. And of course, your name. Moving on, when it comes to work experience and extracurricular activities and how to put those down within your resume. Now, oftentimes we get stuck, right? We get stuck on how to really start to tell a story about the things that we've done and stories about ourselves. So if you take a look at the different type of skills that we have listed down, be it management skills, communication skills, teaching skills, research, or technical skills, we have different words synonymous to each other wherein you could start to expound on those certain skills. So rather than using your go-to word, wherein it can become a little redundant, try to mix it up, of course, with different synonyms wherein it still gives the same meaning, although we're not using redundant words throughout our resume. So it also lets the recruiter know that this person has a vast vocabulary under their repertoire of skills. So first, for management skills, instead of using organized, we could use plan, supervise, strengthen, attain, etc. Under communication skills, we could use influence, negotiate, persuade, promote, and the likes. Now, when it comes to teaching, of course, we could use facilitate, teach, the root word, right? Explain, guide, instruct, and the likes. Similar with research skills. As far as research skills, we could highlight that by using the word diagnose, evaluate, identify, inspect, and what have you. Last but not the least, we have technical skills. So under technical skills, we could use assemble, build, operate, program, upgrade, and the likes. Okay. Moving on. Now, when it also comes to work experience, and extracurricular activities, and how we want to highlight our achievements. Let's make sure that it is quantifiable. Right? So rather than just talking about what we've done, put down the numbers to really back up what it is that we've accomplished. So if we managed a budget, we can put down the amount of the budget, if we were able to adhere to the budget, or maybe even at the end of the year, we were below the budget, and highlight the costs that we saved, right, by X and Y. Now, when it comes to re-engineering the process, talk about the process itself that was re-engineered and what was the impact of that as far as efficiency, time saved, things of that nature. When it talks about managing administrative duties, okay, so we could highlight who it is that we exactly managed, perhaps the headcount of the team with the daily operations. Not only that, if we facilitated certain topics, we could highlight that we facilitated end-to-end execution of this specific process or this specific topic. And we perhaps presented that to X amount of senior leaders. So it lets the recruiter know, of course, that we have presentation skills and we're able to do this with all professionals, be it entry level all the way up until executive level. Moving on. Next, we have a resume that we would like everyone to take a look at, and perhaps if there are some critiques, I know that we don't have a Mentimeter for this one, but I know that we have the chat option open, babes. If I may say that it's open, I think it is open. I think babes can confirm this. If you see anything in this resume that you could provide critique on, please do so. We were actually requesting for a resume to come from a particular student, although we weren't able to get one, so we can just use this resume instead. If you could take some time to really review this resume from the top all the way down to the bottom, from the person, education, all the way down to their awards or recognition, and really critique it and provide your insight in the chat box, and then we could go over some of the insight that you provided before we move on to how to really ace an interview with Gay Lida. I'll give it some time for that chat box to fill in with your insights. And if there are no insights as far as critiquing this resume, it's fine, because if you take a look at the resume, it's a really thought out resume that was written, and the flow of it is very consistent as well, from the top all the way down to the bottom. It might lack some information. You might be thinking, oh, it's missing the person's name, the person's address, and that's fine. We took that out, of course, because we don't want to incriminate anyone as far as their personal information is concerned. But if you take a look at the resume, it really takes a look at it from first education. Right? First and foremost, of course, we go through the education and then we gain the experience. So it's best to highlight that, your education. Extracurricular activities, perhaps that you did within school, be it internship, OJT, what have you, or maybe you're part of a student org, you can also highlight that there. Aside from that, you can list down your work experience. So from education, your work experience that you've attained. Okay? And remember, sorry about that. It skipped to a different slide. And remember, when it comes to the work experience, try to mix up the words by using synonymous words instead, so that way it doesn't become very redundant when you're talking about a specific role that you've had and the accomplishments that you did during that time, or the accomplishments that you're able to attain during that time. Next up, we have core competencies. So if there are very specific skills, be it IT or what have you, that you would like to highlight, maybe knowing specific software, things of that nature that you would like to highlight, you could put it under core competencies. And then under that, additional extracurricular activities that we probably attained, be it outside of school, maybe different seminars that we've attended, workshops, what have you. And then last but not the least, recognition. And remember, keep in mind with all of these that we try to quantify everything, okay? Put X amount of value and how it impacted the business altogether, if it had a positive impact, and how much time and money that you really saved the company. Because these are things that a lot of hiring managers take a look at and how you can contribute to the company in a bigger scope as well. And of course, the chat box is always open for questions, although at this point in time, we will reserve the questions for after Gay's part, just so that we are a little wary of time as well. So let's go ahead and move on to Gay's portion, which is basically how to ace that interview. I'll stop sharing my screen for the moment.
Oh no, you can continue sharing your screen, okay. Sean. Yeah, please. And thank you so much. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Technical issues abounding today. I know being mindful of time here, I'll go right into the how to ace your interview, or I like how FEU Career Services says it, it's express to impress. Because definitely you're there to impress by expressing yourself. A lot of times the confidence isn't there just because you don't know how to do that. So if we can, just go into the deck, Sean, if you have it there with you. A while ago, right, Sean was showing that the recruitment process is you start off with engaging on campus, and then you do the resume writing, and then we go into the interview. I'd like to start off with a definition for now. Everyone knows that interviews are very scary. And later I'd like to know what the mix of the people in this call are. But look at the interview as a two-way conversation, right? With the purpose of getting information from each other. It's not just the company getting information from you. It's also you as an interviewee or a candidate getting information about the company. So if you think of it that way, hopefully you feel a bit more relaxed going into your first interview session. Okay, now I would like to, let's just jump into the Mentimeter, a new Mentimeter. I will share my screen now. Hold on. Okay, I hope this is the one. Are you seeing the Mentimeter? If you can go into your own Mentimeter and go into the code 65352707. 65352707. I'm not seeing anything here. Can someone please confirm if it's my Mentimeter that's showing? Okay, good, good. All right, so please go in. I'm not seeing anyone yet in Mentimeter. As you go in, you just have to answer this question as to how experienced you are being an interview session. Did you have an experience as an interviewer or as an interviewee? Or did you have experience in both or not at all? Okay, so let me just shout out the code again, all right? So it is 65352707. So I'm seeing great colors here. Very even between those without experience, but there's a lot who already have experience being in both roles. So let me give it a couple of seconds more, just so that we have a better view of this, the, 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 All right, so I see that there's 29 right now. I can close it for now. I can see that a lot of you have been interviewees. Around 30% done both. Very few of you being an interviewer. So I think this is really perfect for you to be here, and close to 20% without any experience. With that now, I'd like you to let me know what you know about tips around interviews. So before I jump into sharing with you what the tips are, I'd like to, see what your knowledge level is. And if you're experts in certain areas, I can just gloss over it, okay? So let me go to the next question here. It's asking you, what tips do you know about interviews? So just free form, type in what you know about interviews or how you could be doing well in an interview. Okay, so I'm just gonna give it a couple more seconds for everyone to go in and type in. Maybe some of you are thinking, yeah, trying to remember, oh, I just read this. Okay, someone said be yourself, be presentable. Thank you. Let's give it a couple more seconds for the others to be prepared, to stay calm. Okay, that's good. A lot more are still sharing. Okay, be on time, review the CV, meaning you got a lot of tips, right, from Sean. So make sure that you noted down all of those tips so that go again into your resume. Does it really speak to your experience and your interest? Be confident, look good. That's very relative, but I think everyone knows what that looks like, right? Being presentable in front of the interviewer. Let me see the other, intense, okay? Eye contact, okay. Well, there's something here, I'm not so sure what that is. I don't really want to read it out. I might bungle up that answer. Confident, but do not brag, very good. Be prepared and practice. All right, so there's a lot that all of you are sharing, really great stuff. I know that I don't have to go too much into these tips, okay? So let me now share my other screen. Is that okay, Sean, or are you okay to share your screen?
I'm good to share.
Okay, great. You can jump right into the tips. Okay, yes, let's go straight on to the next one. Okay, here. So all of you said this. Now I clustered it based on the types of interviews that you might go into. As you know, it is virtual settings for the past year or a couple of months. And so what I put out here on the slide is more around a virtual setting. Anyway, everything here, if we go back into meeting in person with interviewers, these tips will still remain the same. So for some companies, maybe some of you know this, there are types of interviews where you do it online, you read a question and you answer it. You have 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes to answer it. That's a recorded interview. So you're not gonna have a two-way conversation. In this case, then, of course, everything that you said a while ago, look good, meaning dress appropriately. If you did your research about the company, then you'd know how lax you can go, how formal you can go, all right? I would say business casual is a good neutral ground to stay at. Consider your environment, meaning at the back. So I did have to run around my place a while ago to get my Zoom to work. So something like this, very clutter-free is the best, like Miss Babes over there, or have a virtual background. A while ago, I had that. It was my blue JPMC background. So whatever it is, you are considering your environment because you want the interviewer to look at you, not your background, okay? You want them to listen to your answers, not to criticize or critique what they're seeing behind you. And then, of course, prepare an outline because some of the recorded interviews, it allows you to practice. If it does give you that chance, take it, right? Practice like, this is what I'll say first and then this and that. Because in that 1 minute or 2 minutes, sometimes you may not go to the point that you would like to get across. Now let's go into a video interview, similar to like you're in Zoom like this. So if you go to the next slide, and all of you touched on these, you guys said be on time. So yes, be punctual. I've seen this with candidates going into my Zoom 15 minutes before. So it gets me also, it's a good reminder also for the interviewer if they are in meetings or if they're caught up with emails. You said maintain eye contact, and that's hard to do in Zoom. The best way to do that is just to look into the camera. With so many months of us being in Zoom, or you guys being vloggers, probably doing your TikToks or whatever, I'm sure you know how to look into the camera. I have to remind myself to look into the camera to do that. Visual cues like the smiles, nodding. Do you understand the question? Do you see if the interviewer is understanding you, right? So you always make sure that you give off those cues just so that your conversation is really on track. So let me go to the next slide here. And the first 30 seconds, like a hi, hello, being polite and professional. I've seen more candidates asking me, how are you, Gabe? That hasn't been happening before. I think, in a virtual setting, there's more confidence that candidates feel. Please do that, right? Because it means that you are trying to connect, creating that rapport with your interviewer, similar to what the interviewer is doing with you, okay? Be mindful of your body language. So again, even if your back or your chair has a backrest, don't, slouch and be too comfortable. A little bit forward, a little bit straight backed. Body language, right? Use gestures if you want, but not too much, because as you know, there's a lot of lagging that happens, okay? And you don't want to freeze in an awkward position, right? And the third one here, you guys said that. A lot of you said that actually, saying be yourself, be confident. It's really being relaxed and natural, not to brag, but just the right amount of confidence. Now, if you did your research and your preparation like what Sean said, this would be an easy tip to do, okay? So let's go to the next one here. Another one, the most part is you're going to talk. But as you talk, make sure that you are speaking calmly. Don't rush through your answers. I know that it is on the spot, but at times, right, the more nervous you are, the faster you answer. So if you feel nervous, try to pace yourself, because that will automatically get your body to relax a bit, and it will make you think more clearly and therefore more intelligently. Anyway, there's a lot more questions, and we're going here, that will be about your interest. So everything that Sean said a while ago about preparing, these questions shouldn't be hard for you to answer, right? Like, why do you want this industry? Why do you want this job, etc.? But later on, as you tell your stories, this is where I think we get a little bit more nervous, okay? So I'd like to go into a very, very quick exercise here. If we go to the next slide, let's try to answer this question. A lot of interviewers now use competency-based questions, or you may have heard this, behavior-based questions. It's really asking you what you've done in the past, right? As compared to saying, given this problem, what will you do? And a lot of times we don't know because we don't have that experience. But for example, this question, it is asking you, tell me of a time when you and your team were faced with a roadblock or a problem. What did you do to address the problem? Okay, so how are we going to do this? I know I can't talk to you, you guys can't talk to me. Let's go back into Mentimeter, okay? I will go to the next slide here in Mentimeter. I put there the same question. Tell me of a time, right, when you and your team were faced with a roadblock. And for example, you're starting your answer about a thesis group case or situation that you faced, right? Maybe you would start, my thesis group had 1 week to finish, but one group mate got sick. So, and here are some examples of how you would answer. What I'd like you to do is rate each one. For the first one, is it a 10, which is like very, very good? Or is it a 1? Not so good, all right? Then go to the next answer here, rate it. How well is it, right? So for a lot of you, 1 being the lowest, okay? And 10 being the best answer, or like it's a really good answer, all right? So for those of you who can't read that well, let me read it out. The first option is, you know, my thesis group had 1 week to finish, but one group mate got sick, so we all worked harder and extended our hours. That's the first one. Second answer is, I assigned the group mates task among us and scheduled daily check-ins, and in the end, we were able to submit in time and got a high grade. And the third is, we all agreed on the additional task and we met daily to make sure we were on track. At the end, we got a high grade. So let me see here, which one is the best? Is it the first one, the second, or the third? Now, I see brave souls here, 7 of you answering. I'll give you 5 more seconds. I heard that there's a lag here. So, okay, let's give 10 seconds for more people to answer. So I see 8 already answering. Anyone else that would like to weigh in here? Okay, we can see that number 1, you guys say this is the best answer. A couple of you saying, oh, now it's tied. It's 1 and 2 being the best. Okay, we've got 11. This is like the elections, no? Like you don't know what's gonna be the ending. Okay, so let me just stop here. I think this is a good place to lock the voting. The first one, 6.3, that is the average rating that you guys gave. We all worked harder and extended our hours. Now let me just tell you, for me, as an interviewer, I don't know what you did, right? Because the question is, what did you do? But in this answer, if you answered this way, we all worked harder. In the end, we finished. I don't know what you did. So I wouldn't rate this high. The second one, though, is saying, I assigned tasks and we schedule daily check-ins, okay? So I'm pretty clear about what you did as a group mate here. I would rate this high. Like you guys are rating it higher at a 7. But then it's like the third one, right? Isn't it the same thing? It's very specific. But if you look at the third one, it's saying we as a team, we agreed on tasks, we scheduled. Again, I don't know what you did, right? So let's go now back to the deck, Sean. What is the best way of answering a question? Either of those are okay. And it's really the responsibility of the interviewer to probe. So don't feel bad that, oh, okay, I rated it wrong. It's the STAR method, okay? So it's actually the second example a while ago in Mentimeter where you were clear about the situation or the task. That's the deadline, someone getting sick. The action, this is the most important part. I assigned tasks, I scheduled meetings, right? So now I'm very clear. And the result, we had a high grade. We finished on time. That's why the second one was a bit more clear to me, okay? So hopefully that gets you to be like, all right, now I know how to answer those questions. You know your stories. I think now knowing the STAR method will help you to practice, okay? So hopefully that is a good tip for you to walk away with. Now, let's go to the next. How do we close an interview here? If you go to the next slide, it'll just be the wrap up. Simply you say thank you, ask your questions also if you have. As you ask questions, please take down notes. I've seen candidates do this. They ask me a question, but then they're not writing down notes. I'm not sure if after this interview, you will remember what I answered, right? It also shows that you're interested to have your question answered, okay? And that will be usually in the 5 minutes, and then that's it. We close that, that time. So I would like to go to Ron or Miss Babes. How many minutes do we have for the Q&A? I know that we are over. 10 minutes, okay. Oh, 15, okay. 15 minutes. Okay, so in Mentimeter, let me just go to the next slide. If you have questions for us, you can type it in. But I know that Ron said that if you have questions a while ago, you could also type in or chat through your MS Teams, and Ron and the team will be able to ask. So as we're waiting for the Mentimeter questions to come in, maybe Ron or Ms. Babes, what questions came in, and we can tackle that first.
I think I can assist with that, Gay. I see some questions that were in the chat, if you allow me to assist. Okay. One question, the most recent one, question from audience number 3. In a job interview, does it really affect your chance to land a job based on your English speaking skills? I'm better in writing in English than in speaking. That was from question audience number 3.
It seems like I'm in a beauty contest here. So that's a very good question, because a lot of times people think English is all, or that's the end result. You speak really well, you're in. But you know, it depends on the role. If the role doesn't need you to speak to a lot of customers probably, or to a lot of stakeholders, then maybe you're more comfortable, you know, coming into that interview. But if it is, then that is something where this question is a little bit more relevant. Again, given your research, then you will know if English is important or not. But for us, let's say in JPMC, it's not about how you sound. It's really about the message in your answers. So if you are, that's why I said earlier, speak calmly and intelligently. It just means also clearly, right? That your thought process is clear, and therefore when you answer, it's also very clear. That would be most important. But if you feel that you're not that confident in even speaking in English, there's a lot of, you know, practice that you could do, even by just recording yourself on your phone. Show it to others, probably at home, like